Happy lunch hour, guys, for a Saturday. Okay. Hopefully, y'all are out getting ready for barbecues or doing whatever. Hopefully, you're doing some important stuff too, but you got to take time to step back and enjoy life while we got it too. I got a question for you. Who do you think is the family that has the biggest chance of completely destroying the world of which we know it? If I asked that question to everybody, I'd probably get answers like the Rothschilds, the Clintons, the Bidens, the Obamas, the Gates, the Zuckerbergs, the Soroses, the Bezos, whatever it is. And I'd say none of the above. The Donilons. Yeah, there's a family you've never heard of. I'm going to explain why. All right. So let's start at the top before I explain why, though, because this will all come together at the end. I've said many times, everything you touch, everything in your house, everything you eat, everything you buy, somehow, some way, anything that you have has been touched by diesel fuel. Okay. And in order for a diesel truck to run, you have to have DEF fluid, okay, which is diesel exhaust fluid, DEF. If you don't have DEF in a semi-truck, the truck won't do more than 5 miles an hour. Okay, DEF is in there to reduce emissions and all this other crap that the environmentalists have had put on trucks in the last 50 years. Okay, but so that's the way the engines are made right now. They require DEF. DEF is made from 2/3 of urea and 1/3 of distilled water. Where does most of the urea come from? Russia. What's the other thing urea is good for? The one we all know. Fertilizer shortages. Okay. So we have a fertilizer shortage. We have a urea shortage, the nitrogen stuff. Okay. Well, the biggest producers of urea in the world are Russia, China, Egypt, and Qatar. Okay. There's your biggest producers. Russia's not exporting any. China's not exporting any. So the only place that the U.S. right now can get urea from to make DEF fluid is either Egypt or Qatar. Yeah, not thinking that we're going to get a whole lot to maintain 30 million trucks on the road in the United States alone. Okay. Well, here's where it starts getting into a little bit of interest. Flying J truck stops. You know, Flying J, you see them as you're driving down the highway or whatever. Okay. They buy roughly 15% of the DEF fluid in the United States. A lot of the truckers will go there for maintenance on their trucks. Okay. I mean, you think Flying J makes their money on selling gasoline and your McDonald's hamburger that you get in there. That's not it. It's basically on truck maintenance. Right? That's their biggest thing. Well, Flying J gets 70% of their DEF fluid that is transported on Union Pacific railways. And Union Pacific has a stranglehold on all the places that manufacture DEF fluid. Okay. So basically, if you want DEF fluid, you're beholden to Union Pacific. Now, if DEF fluid is no longer available to these Flying J's because A, it's impossible to get or very difficult, let's say from Qatar or from Egypt, that causes a problem. But then Union Pacific also has a big problem. All right. So now you get into a little bit more. Guess who the biggest shareholder in Union Pacific Railroad is? BlackRock. Does that name ring a bell? the same company that's buying up all these houses, neighborhoods, apartment complexes everywhere. So BlackRock is going to own the house and also is going to determine whether or not Union Pacific will move DEF fluid, which means BlackRock can determine whether or not trucks have the ability to go anywhere. So BlackRock controls the housing and controls the distribution system in the country. Railways, Union Pacific, trucking. How does everything get to your house? If it comes from overseas or whatever, it gets off a ship, it's put on a truck or it's put on a train, and eventually it's put on a truck and it goes to your local Walmart or Home Depot or grocery store or whatever it would be. All right. And BlackRock controls all of that. All right. Now, why do I say that the Donilons are the controlling figure in the world? Well, the chairman of BlackRock is Tom Donilon. Tom is Obama's former national security advisor. Tom Donilon's brother, Mike Donilon, is the senior advisor to Joe Biden. Tom Donilon's wife, Catherine Russell, is the White House personnel director. Tom Donilon's daughter, Sarah, works on the White House National Security Council. So think about this. We have a family, the Donilon family, that nobody's ever heard of, that has their hooks into the White House very, very deeply, who controls the railways, can hold hostage the trucking industry. And the housing industry, and we need those things to survive. Tell me that Donilon can't come up and say, this company, my company, not he doesn't own it, but he's runs it, okay, BlackRock's publicly traded. We have all the housing. We're only going to allow trucks and trains to come into the areas where we have housing. Because, there's a shortage of DEF fluid. So therefore, we're only going to ship it to where the concentration of people are in the cities who happen to live in, the houses that they own and rent back to you. And those of us who live out in the country, I'm sorry, Mr. Pinball, there's a shortage of DEF fluid in the world, so we can't afford to have a truck drive the 40 miles out to your grocery store when they could drive to 15 different grocery stores in the local market and get food to them, or get dimensional lumber to them, or get water to them, or coal to run the electrical plant or whatever. Do you see what I'm saying? You have a family here who, chances are, you've never heard of, in control, and can hold this White House hostage, and say, we have a shortage in urea. We own the railway, so we're going to decide where the trains go. We're going to decide what cities, what states can have trucks run. We'll decide where the food gets delivered. No, the government can't save you, because there's a family here that controls it all and has Joe by the short hairs on this one. Because we've managed to allow this all happen right under our noses, and nobody's even heard of this guy. And we know Joe's vetting process is pretty much the same as Obama's vetting process. They never looked into any of this. Didn't vet the VP, didn't vet the Afghanis, don't vet the Mexicans. Hell, why vet the people who were your senior advisor or on your security council or as your personnel director? Blood is thicker than water, guys. And the Donilons control this country, whether you know it or not. And that should scare the piss out of you. Pinball out.